We are Group 4 and we are going to present on monotasking and increasing productivity and also debunking the myth of multitasking. Monotasking, or also known as single tasking, is the practice of dedicating ourselves to a single task at the same single time and minimizing potential interruption until the task is done. While on the other side, multitasking is defined as dealing with more than one task at the same time.
Why do people multitask? Living in the 20th century demands us to do several things at once: information overload, projects, social network, and immense access to information through the internet are some examples why the concept of multitasking has been more popular over the last couple of decades. Dr. L. Ofer, a neuroscientist at Stanford University, explains that us humans do not really multitask, but we do task switch or switching very quickly between tasks. More frequent switching shortens the duration to fully focus on an information source. Interruptions, either externally or internally, inhibits people to deeply engage in a task. This study shows that people who practice multitasking often have multiple unfinished tasks, felt worn out, and exhausted easily, and they also hinder their innovative thinking.
Technology versus monotasking. Technologies have a major contribution into multitasking. People nowadays can't live without technologies, but actually, does technology do more harm than good? Evidence from a 2014 study indicated constant multitasking by using devices could be causing permanent brain changes. A study done of 262 college students who were heavy media multitaskers. The report highlights that they struggle to pick the relevant information, have a lacking and diverted attention. Previous studies also have found students multitasking on laptops in a lecture performed worse on tests than those who didn't. Multitasking can lower your IQ 10 full points, according to Professor Miller. We will miss out on the human connections such as compassion and understanding. Daniel Siegel of UCLA Medical School states that this can leave us in an empty, zombie-like state by living our daily lives based on technology.
Multitasking myths. People can't multitask very well, and when people say they can, they're deluding themselves, said neuroscientist Earl Miller of MIT. And he also said that the brain is very good at deluding itself. According to a study done by Salvucci and Bogunovic in 2010, individuals monotask until primary task mental workload has been minimized. 94% of users were able to switch tasks when they have less workload. However, they found that interruptions prolong resumption lag, which is the additional time needed to resume primary tasks after interruption, therefore decreasing overall performance and cause longer time to accomplish the original task. Multitasking is possible when two tasks do not compete with each other for the same mental resources because similar tasks use the same part of the brain. Our brain is not capable of focusing at two things at the same time.
Effects of task switching on simple tasks versus complex tasks. Based on prior research conducted on the effects of task switching on simple tasks and complex tasks, we are presented with two levels of tasks, simple and complex. Based on their level of difficulty, we will define the type of tasks and how they affect performance. There will be two different types of tasks that were conducted, such as symbolic, which required the subjects to obtain specific data by directly extracting values or performing routine addition or subtraction calculations. The second was spatial. Spatial tasks required subjects to identify trends in the data. Based on past research conducted on simple tasks, has been found that when distractions occur, stress increases, causing decision makers to focus their attention on relatively few information cues. As a result, for simple symbolic tasks, decision time will be faster when the task is interrupted compared to when the task is not interrupted. For simple spatial tasks, decision time will be faster when the task is interrupted compared to when the task is not interrupted. On the other hand, complex tasks contain more information to process than simple tasks, and as task complexity increases, interruptions increase workload and stress. Based on the results for complex simple tasks, decision time will be slower when the task is interrupted compared to when the task is not interrupted. For complex spatial tasks, decision time will be slower when the task is interrupted compared to when the task is not interrupted. Negative effects of multitasking. Multitasking is a brain drain that exhausts the mind and zaps cognitive resources. According to a recent study, multitasking in work environments lead to lower quality decisions and reduced speed on complex intellective tasks. Frequent task switching overloads the brain and makes you less efficient. Chronic multitaskers have been detected with higher levels of cortisol, stress hormone, which can damage memory region of the brain. Prior research demonstrates that work hassles and interruptions result in more negative moods and increased fatigue.
There have been experiments done that simply proves that multitasking is a myth. Now, according to Journal of Cognitive Engineering and Decisions, an experiment was conducted where people are set in a room with a driving simulator and a Nokia phone. The simulation was set with a car going around 80 miles per hour with the lead car in front of the subject, and subjects are told to input a certain set of numbers given into the phone. Subjects are told specifically to try to keep the car from steering off the lane while inputting the number. The result shows that people that are instructed to focus on their driving took a longer time to input the instructed number into the phone, while people that are instructed to focus on the phone was not able to keep a car in the lane. This just further proves that multitasking can't be done and that we should be promoting monotasking instead. Another experiment that was done by a neuroscientist called Daniel Weisman. He was a PhD from Stanford, and he did the experiment in the lab of University of Michigan. What he did was he placed subjects on the MRI scanner, and the subjects are shown two digits. If they are of the same color, say red, and the subject decides which digit is numerically larger. On the other hand, if the digits are of different color, say green, then the subject decides which digit is actually printed in a larger font size. Now, the conclusion of the experiment was that subjects had difficulty doing these simple tasks that requires multitasking. The MRI scans also showed activity and where the brain paused during these tasks. And here is a short video by National Geographic about an experiment on multitasking.
Professor David Strayer's research has shown we generally aren't the multitaskers we may think we are.
Realistically, we can really only process one thing at a time. We're effectively serial processors, where we're doing one task at a time.
Strayer co-runs a lab at the University of Utah that studies how multitasking affects the brain.
When we try and multitask, we're just switching from one activity to another. Switching involves deactivating or paying attention to one task so that you can then process the other task, and switching back and forth.
We have a driving simulator. I'll have you do some cognitive tasks while you're driving. People who claim to be supertaskers can do that cognitive task and drive without impairments to either the cognitive task or to driving. So you want to try being
Absolutely.
a supertasker?
I'd like to see.
This test simulates the conditions of driving while talking on the phone. Petrus will have two tasks to carry out while driving, solving a series of maths problems while memorizing a list of words. The test is designed to be more demanding than the average phone conversation, so Dr. Strayer can track just how much Petrus's performance suffers at each task.
Excellent.
I'm going to ask you a series of math problems and give you a short word to remember after each problem. I'm going to ask you to recall all the words in the order that you heard them in. So, are you ready to begin?
Yes.
Sitting at home, it's not possible to do the driving task, but have a go at completing the maths task and memorizing the words to test your own ability to multitask.
Is 3 divided by 1 minus 1 equal to 2?
Yes.
Ice. Is 2 times 2 plus 1 equal to 4?
No.
Owl. Is 9 times 2 plus 2 equal to 20?
Yes.
Toy. Recall.
Ice. Skip. No. The last one was toy.
Okay.
Petrus is unable to recall all of the simple words. The The word he was looking for is owl. You may have forgotten the word too, but this is an extremely difficult test, and you're not driving while doing it. With the test complete, Dr. Strayer is ready to give Petrus the answer as to how he ranks as a multitasker.
Well, the good news is you're just like 98% of the rest of the people. You're like for driving performance, you got worse when you started to multitask, and the conversation task got worse when you're multitasking as well.
I think I'll put the cell phone a bit further away.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks a lot. It's been the most fun day.
Okay, good.
Our brain's executive function. Our brain has a set of mental skills called executive function. These skills are controlled by the frontal lobe. Frontal lobe help planning, organizing, emotional and behavioral control, personality, problem solving, attention, social skills, flexible thinking, and conscious movement. And it allows us to achieve a goal by ignoring distractions. For example, if we're performing a task where we want to watch TV and ignore voices that are coming from, say, our children nearby, Wisman said, our frontal region brain may configure the brain to prioritize visual information and dampen down auditory information. Multitasking blocks flow of information into our long-term memory. So in order to do something distinctly well, full engagement in task is actually needed.
Benefits of monotasking. Kelly McGonigal, a psychologist and lecturer at Stanford, and the author of The Willpower Instinct, believes that monotasking is something that needs to be practiced. She said it's an important ability and a form of self-awareness as opposed to a cognitive limitation. We have been constantly fed with the idea that the more we can do at once, the more expertly intelligent and efficient we are. However, a study done to link single tasking and biological function showed that after 6 hours of training, there are new generations of brain cells and improved information transmission between different regions of the brain, an increase in neuron nourishing blood flow and white matter region, which is responsible for learning and brain functions. Not only monotasking improves our biological features, it also increases satisfaction rate of people who completed a task. Alltech, production and consultation company for agriculture, came up with Note to Self Infomalogical Challenge, which consisted of 5 daily challenges. Spending a day focused on one task at a time, tidying up your application collection, avoid meaningless memes and trending topics, discuss something for at least 7 minutes, and set a longer-term resolution. One participant acknowledged that single tasking allowed her to take time in completing the task and left her feeling less distressed. She became more mindful and responsive to her surroundings. By the end of the challenge, 71% of those who took the challenge felt less overwhelmed by the vast amount of information and were able to digest this information clearly.
Benefits of monotasking. Monotasking increases efficiency, effectiveness. It also helps you focus. It will finish your task with lower chance of mistakes. Also, monotasking helps reducing stress-related overwhelmed works that is caused by multitasking.
There is an uprising usage of media multitasking across the globe. A study compared reading performances between novice, someone who is inexperienced, and experts in different media multitasking environments. Participants were divided into 3 major groups: reading only, reading with background video, and reading with watching video simultaneously. They found that participants perform best when they read with video playing in the background. This was to be expected since there is a connection between familiarity of subject areas and capability to media multitask. An example would be driving and listening to music or conversing with someone else. This study suggests that people perform better when they have more control and flexibility, such as in media multitasking. In certain circumstances, media multitasking may enhance performance and therefore increasing productivity in workplace. Even though there are many benefits to monotasking, some people cannot work in monochronic patterns. Tasks are commonly fragmented. For instance, projects are completed over the span of days, weeks, or even months. Widespread use of digital media in society causes us to work in polychronic pattern, doing multiple tasks at once, flexible time and agenda, and then putting our relationship first. The idea behind it is to avoid saturation of the same information repeatedly. This may cause individuals to lack interest and motivation to fully engage in a task. Since individuals are unique, rapid switching between tasks work for some people and may even enhance work efficiency by providing a continuous flow of different tasks.
According to a business professor, Martin Corbett examines how Yerkes-Dodson law can enhance employees' performance in the workplace. Yerkes-Dodson law is based on the relationship between arousal and performance. Arousal is based on 4 different functions, which is energy, emotion, focus, and stress. On the left side of this graph, people are typically under-challenged, which is the result of boredom and unmotivated. This would be a result of monotasking with every task presented in the workplace. For example, easy tasks are associated with low arousals, and an increase in the level of arousals can improve performance. In the center of the graph, we have the area of optimal performance where the team is working hard but is not overloaded. This recent study found that multitasking helped improve performance on simple tasks. In result, the team would then perform at optimal levels and increase performance. The right side of this graph is where people begin to fall apart from working under pressure and are overwhelmed with all the demands. This is a result of multitasking on tasks with higher levels of difficulty.
Multitasking and productivity. The art of multitasking is said to satisfy multiple tasks at once and being productive, but researchers suggest that that is not the case. Do 3 things well, not 10 things badly, by David Surgrove. Our brain is filled with the thrill from completing multiple tasks at once, even though the quality of the outcome is jeopardized. The thrill comes from a released dopamine, which we end up mistaking for being productive. We also can get addicted to this feeling. Multitasking dissipates your energy, creating a mental block which decreases productivity by 40%. Since the brain is not designed to switch between 2 tasks, you will feel more fatigued and more prone to make mistakes. Task switching occurs even in simple activities like checking your text message, email notifications, or even when you stop to chat with someone. Anything that diverts your attention and focus causes a task switching episodes. Multitasking can also have a lasting neurological, physical, and social effects as well. It also reduces your ability to think carefully and weaken your memory. Multitasking also diverts your attention from your goals. This is the survey results that we sent out with SurveyMonkey with 7 questions and 67 participants. From here, you can see that we have some questions that we ask them. Do you consider yourself as a multitasker or a monotasker? This is the first question that we put there, and a lot of people, majority of the people chose multitasker, 56.6%, with monotasker only 36.36%. In your personal opinion, what is the relation between multitasking and productivity? 56.6% answered multitasking increases productivity, with 36.36%, multitasking decreases productivity. Next, the question is this the first time you have heard of monotasking or single tasking? Yes, 24.62 is their first time hearing it, and no, 70% of people have heard of this. They are familiar of the monotasking or single tasking. Next, we can see here that there are 2 graphs. On the left side, imagine you are a manager. You have 3 tasks to be done in 15 minutes and you are given 2 options. Which would be more productive? The answers are work on all 3 at the same time, which is multitasking, work on 3 items, dividing the allotted time into 5 minutes per task, which is monotasking. People answered the second one, work on 3 items, dividing the allotted time into 5 minutes per task, 76.12%. On the right side, we can see the question that asks, imagine you are studying for a really hard final exam. Do you think you will be able to focus if a friend is there talking to you about something else? Yes, people answered they're multitaskers, 21.21%, and no, monotaskers, 78.79%. We can see here majority of the people chose no. Here at the bottom side, you can see, do you consider yourself to be a multi or monotasker? This question is asked at the end of the survey to see if they've understand themselves and to see if this is the recap questions of all the questions. A majority of the people chose monotasker when asked, do you consider yourself to be a multi or monotasker, with 70.15%. We can see here that there are two of the similar questions. On the first questions that we asked them, people chose multitasker with 56.6%. They consider themselves as a multitasker. But after they did our survey, at the end of the survey, they changed their mind and they chose monotasker.
There are some ways that can help us get started with monotasking. For example, we can start by setting boundaries. Leave your technology while having a meal or socializing. Stop checking social media or devices before going to bed. And lastly, find a way to truly disconnect. Implementing monotasking in the workplace. Developing a high-powered brain also means abandoning the myth of multitasking. We can achieve this by prioritizing as little as 3 tasks each day. Take on one task at a time and complete it to best of your abilities before moving elsewhere. Break down your workday into shorter periods of activity by taking brain breaks. Taking breaks will help re-energize your mind and help you focus better. The benefit of this is that it will reduce stress and create activity in the prefrontal cortex. By implementing these practices, the workplace will be a happier environment, collaborative, and ultimately more productive.